Good afternoon, everybody, and we are on our very first Overdose and Chill Live on LinkedIn. Being joined by the inimitable John Ball from Google. Can I use the word inimitable, John?
If you have to.
Give us a quick intro, John. Tell us who you are, and where you come from, buddy.
Look, I work at Google, and I'm looking after the Australian New Zealand business there, and I have a role to look after the agency business across the Asia Pacific as well. And look, outside of work, I love adventures, love having fun, and most importantly, being able to have a laugh and enjoy life is number one.
Love it. So we started with a little bit of a picture where we were promoting you, pickaxe in hand, top of Everest-esque. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be on a few of your sessions and share some great stories around, your health recovery and your adventure. Give us some background on that, buddy.
Yeah, look, I found this passion for adventure travel, getting out and really sort of pushing yourself to that limit. And how are you going to get over it? How do you get to the top of the mountain? How do you get through up in New Guinea, the Kokoda Trail, whatever that adventure is? And so through those different experiences and many lessons and many moments where you sort of like, how do you do it? And then you sort of, you double take, you really challenge yourself, and then you make it through. And it's just been amazing to have those. And most importantly, one of the things is actually sharing those moments with your mates you go out with. And there's some of them that have just been incredible, and they just help you through. And you mentioned, Todd, I've actually had unfortunately a couple of challenges with one with cancer and one with quite a large brain tumor. And it's not something you ever would want to go in for, but I was incredibly fortunate that when I found out I actually had the cancer, I was about to go off and climb some volcanoes in Mexico. And I was just having this little health test before I went. And the doctor said, oh, look, you probably can go, but these things you want to check out when you get back. When I got back, I found that I had not just cancer, but a big brain tumor. And going through that experience, the thing that helped me more than anything else was those lessons on resilience. What do you do? And one of the ones was like, you got to learn to laugh, and you got to learn to make the most of the situation. And sometimes the things are so bad, just learning how to disconnect and focus on that one thing that's truly important. And that was really magical to be able to do that, and got through those things. And that was 2016. And so grateful now that I'm on the other side and still can now go back out, have more adventures, and really, certainly when COVID's over, get out and explore the world again, which is amazing.
So you must be like a caged animal with COVID, not being able to go out and climb and kayak and hunt and
yeah, a little bit like that. It's got to work on the fitness and make sure when things do open up again, there's an opportunity to get out and really just explode and have some fun. I was mentioning to you earlier, Todd, that I haven't had complete sign off from the family yet, but the next adventure I do want to do is kayaking from Australia across to New Guinea and going across the Torres Straits, about a week in a boat. And it's supposed to be one of the most incredible adventures you can do, untouched islands, and you're meeting individuals that are supposed to be just one of the most spectacular things. But hopefully next September, October, we'll be able to maybe come live to you from the Torres Strait.
And you do that solo, would you? Or do you do that?
No, I've got a couple of mates. I've got a couple of mates who I'm already tapping up who've been on other adventures with me. I said, what would you think about this? And they said, can you do it? Is it possible? Yes, of course. Oh, then I'm in. So,
wow.
So yeah, certainly looking forward to that as well.
So how does all of that lead back into a career at Google?
Well, there's actually a nice connection between all of that, because one of the things at Google is the culture and the people. And one of the amazing parts when I went through the interview process, I think I had like 8 or 9 interviews on the way in, and every individual I met was like, oh, these people are really, really nice, great culture and all that. But when you're away and you're out and you're disconnected from technologies and mobile phones and all the rest, it's really about the human interaction and that connection and engagement. And that was one of the things that really drew me to Google, was because of that, the way that people interconnect, the culture, and how that feels really felt very home to me as well. And it has done. It's coming on 6 years now, and it's really been an amazing time.
Incredible. And have you seen Google evolve as a company over that period, or was the culture always there?
Certainly. Look, the culture, I think the company itself has been founded on that culture. It continues. The wonderful part about Google is it continues to challenge itself, to innovate in every aspect, and that's true with people as well, and what we're doing, and how do we do more? How do we become more inclusive? And that's one of the great parts. Is that actually one of the jobs I didn't mention, but I also do. I lead the People Steerco for Asia Pacific, and so part of that is really challenging ourselves about how do we continue to improve? How do we be more inclusive? How do we do those things that actually are going to make it an even better place for individuals to grow, develop, achieve their career goals, and those things as well?
And I imagine that your role kind of depends on us guys as partners as well, right? And kind of the ecosystem and that community evolves beyond the four walls of Google and kind of has bled into everyone's front room, right? I know we rely very heavily on the support that your guys give us, and I think there's this weird perception sometimes that Google is seen as this big American Goliath, but is actually quite a intimate and personal company once you peel back the surface.
Firstly, let me say thank you very much, Todd. That's good.
No, it's
in all honesty, sometimes I talk to partners in particular and customers, and all they know of us is the search bar. And I had someone say, look, you actually exist. There's someone behind the algorithm. What? And so, but part of the magic is how do you take that culture, that passion, that energy out to our customers, out to our partners, because Google only exists if we meet the needs of our customers and our partners. You can't have a great culture and totally inward facing. We actually work to have great relationships on both sides. And the magic is, and our ability to be successful is helping organizations like your own, Todd Overdose, to be successful. How do you find more customers? How do you help them grow? How do we use our technology in a way that will actually help you scale? And that's sort of the magic of what we do. But most importantly, it's you want to work with people who you get on with. You want to work with people that also have a similar passion. And, when you show up, you feel this sense of energy and connection. And part of that is the magic that we want to push out through what we do as well is absolutely a part of that.
Incredible. So let's rip into a little bit more digital chat. Give us some insights from, your perspective looking outwards at Google. How have you seen that pattern of digital usage change over your tenure?
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually seen that, certainly I started November 2014 to now, there's been a massive acceleration over that period. And it's been quite steady. And then there's been this COVID-19 pandemic that's really put this on steroids. And so from where it was, now we had a very solid incremental growth every year. But now we've actually seen this incredible spike of individuals who are coming onto the internet and buying many for the first time. There's a couple of stats I'll just throw at you in regards to just points that we're actually seeing. We've seen, and certainly there's many organizations doing analysis. Australia posted a bunch, and they were saying that over this period, we've seen, give or take, about 200,000 households in Australia purchase on the internet for the first time. And some other research we've seen is that those individuals who've come on, 70% of those will actually continue to be on the internet and to trade on the internet moving forward. So we are seeing some real acceleration. We also saw, as we came through April, and we went through Easter, it was amazing that the biggest single online day that we've had in Australia's history was Black Friday, Cyber Monday last year. It was really big. Easter this year was bigger. And Easter traditionally hasn't been massive spike. But because of the pandemic and everybody coming on, we've actually seen that was a moment in time. Now, from that moment in time, it's continued to accelerate up. And now with the second lockdown in Melbourne, we've actually seen traffic continue to grow and more volume coming through from an online perspective as well. So the summary of all of that is we saw some gradual, steady growth, but in this last piece, we've actually seen quite an acceleration. And that's the case for Australia, but also the case in the US, where we saw some stats back from the Bank of America, who did some analysis that the e-com has grown more in the last 2 months than it did in the last 10 years. Now, e-com in the US is 27% of retail, which is quite phenomenal when you think of the massive size of the retail marketplace in the US.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. And can you track those stats between what's converting and being monetized and what is research that leads customers back into store? No, because I've been seeing some interesting touch points of where, you know, we now, I think probably 2 or 3 years ago, we used to talk about 10 to 12 touch points to generate a conversion. We're now seeing people that it's kind of 20 touch points and brand engagements that you'll be having now. And search becoming a bigger player in that part as well, as that product set, you know, and essentially the concept of search has evolved so dramatically, right? Now, Google's very, very good at changing the rules, right? We were all kind of keyword jamming, and now we're running shopping ads, and now we need to optimize our images and load up our product feeds. So I guess my question there is, how do you rationalize that point on the funnel of where people are getting to, and how that accounts for the volumes of those traffics?
Yeah, no, great question, Tyler. There's a combination of things. One is that we did a piece of research actually in and around this, and we actually called it the messy middle, and what it means is that someone who they have an interest in something, they come in. At the bottom, they actually purchase or they go away, but there's a level of intent that takes them right through. In the middle now, there's this sense of swirling around, researching, watching videos, looking for influencers, and there's this sense of whilst it may have been 3 or 4 or 5 steps, the number of steps now has increased, as you mentioned. The magic, though, is how do you get someone from being interested and researching to moving them through the funnel and actually making a purchase? So that's the part that we've actually got some research out on that now, and how do you improve that? What are the steps? How do you actually reduce the points of friction on your site, so when they do come, you can actually convert them and make it so easy and seamless. You take them from interest and desire through to transacting and becoming a loyal customer. So really some interesting things going on in that as well.
And with that remarketing play, you know, I still remember the old days where we would remarket to our audiences and run these big banner ads. Do you see a decline in the banner ads, or is that AdSense market still growing as well?
Look, the marketplace overall has changed. And you mentioned a few comments earlier, Todd, about search and shopping and different ways of actually advertising. And if we look at what's happening in the space right now, and this comment relates to remarketing, is that, and if I think about the major retailers across Australia and New Zealand, and more broadly, they're really investing heavily in smart shopping. And when you sort of think about smart shopping, it actually takes care of the remarketing piece. It actually takes care of the search piece. It actually will take care of the display piece. And what happens is that from a customer's perspective, they will make sure that their merchant center is set up with all of their products, all the feeds, all the images. And then the Google AI and ML will take all of that and make sure that your audience is targeted in the best way. It's going to be, if someone's been to your site and they've looked on certain pages, they'll be remarketed automatically with those images, directing them back for purchase. So whilst remarketing is still a very important strategy, you as the customer, you don't need to say, okay, what's my remarketing strategy? What products will I remarket to? Smart shopping actually overlays all of that and makes sure that customers are being targeted in the most effective way. And so you get a much better return on your advertising spend.
Mm-hmm. And I think we still do live in that space of where we're driving people back to complete a transaction. I think, and I'd love to see where you think the future is going here, but I see a definite trend towards closing the loop between marketing and conversion. Okay, so I think we often throw around that word headless, but for me, headless means transacting offsite, right? Whether that be through a PWA as your normal view of the world, but whether that's transacting inside Google, inside Instagram, inside any other product set which isn't your website. Where do you balance that in sort of like the Google, your view of the future, and where Google sees the future of the internet? Because I fundamentally believe that Google defines the internet, right? The plays that you make in terms of positioning how we use the internet, it's our portal, it's our front door, right? We're always going to lean towards where Google steers us. And I think that concept of converting inside search, I can only see that growing.
Yeah, look, so firstly, thank you, Todd, for the very kind comments there. But on a serious note, we're driven to make the experiences for customers easier. So whether that's what you think of what we've done with smart shopping, with a tile, you can see a product, you can click, and you can transact with a whole lot less steps. So part of the drive in the teams is how do we make the experiences easier for customers? So when they want to find something, they can find it faster, they can transact faster and get the product sent to their home in a much faster way. So very much you'll see the evolution will be having the customer at the middle. And so where we're using more AI, ML to help with those experiences. So customers can choose how they continue to interact, engage, and have richer experiences across what they're actually doing, which is amazing. And Google now has over 9 properties that have over a billion users daily. And so with that, it just creates much more opportunity to create richer experiences, much more learning, so that we can just really make sure we curate things for customers in a way that's going to be most impactful for them as well.
Yeah, I guess when I'm looking at this through my retailer's lens as opposed to a consumer lens, a lot of the conversations we have with our clients is that crossroads between efficiency and experience, right? So if I'm just trying to buy a particular bottle of gin, if it was on Google and I could use my Google wallet and check out there and then, and it was a 30-second effort for me, great. However, at what point did the retailer then manage to add value to that experience? Because they didn't come to my website, they didn't read my blog, they didn't digest my social. I was just price and service, right? And I think that based on the economic trends of where markets are going, that will always ebb and flow, and we've seen this with our clients, whether it's an investment in price and quantity, and then next year we're talking about let's go back to premium. I think there's always going to be some push and pull between there, because we've still got to hit commercial targets, right? But we still want it to be a special relationship with our clients and not just a transactional. And I think that's where you'll find that resistance of where the consumer wants the efficiency, but the brand wants to give you that experience. They don't just want to be a transaction, right? I guess all of our clients as well are always fighting to own that customer data as well, right? In terms of capturing the opportunity to resell to them as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And this, you mentioned the world of headless. It's sort of like it's the extreme of having someone click and buy and product in the house, and so that intimacy and that opportunity to get to know the customer more, create more lifetime value, have these richer experiences is all on this continuum. And part of it is what does the customer want? And again, it comes back to that. What does the end consumer want in that journey? And it may be they just want the most efficient experience of getting that bottle of gin to their home. I actually don't want anything else, but if you can do that for me consistently, give me a good price, but I want it here by Friday night because I absolutely need it and I want to smash that bottle of gin. Whatever the case may be, I think that there's going to be a whole range of different experiences. Some people will want to go and read the blog about gin and what's Todd saying about it and what's his favorite. and there'll be a whole range of other experiences that people will have. But I think success is going to be is how do you curate not just for one, but for different personas and archetypes of customers that want to be able to morph in and out of experiences that we can then get to know, and through our AI and ML say, oh, you're a customer that wants this sort of experience. That's the most important thing to you. We can curate for that. You're a customer who wants this type of experience and wants to engage for that. Then we can sort of curate things in that way as well. So I think part of the magic is how do we continue to learn, evolve, and most importantly, give back to customers what they need. On the other side of the retail piece and that landscape of business and getting a return, how do we make sure that we're delivering the best return on an advertising spend so that individuals can continue to invest for growth in their business and brands? And some of that could be lowering acquisition costs. Some of that could be finding customers that have a better lifetime value than others. And so depending on what the business needs and objectives are, we can sort of flex through those as well to make sure that we're looking at that in the most thoughtful way.
You're taking me back to school, John. Right, I've got other questions here that guys wanted me to ask you. Where do you see voice and visual search moving towards? Has the adoption of Alexa, no, I don't own an Alexa or a Google Home or Apple device. We were all talking, 2 years ago that, 50% of search is going to be voice search. Is that still a thing? Is it still growing?
Yeah, look, it is. It's actually, it just depends. Look, voice search it's getting better every day because we're getting more data in, more searches are happening. Now, whether that's off the phone, whether that's off you're in your home talking to your smart devices. And what's happening is it's now just becoming a part of what people are doing. Now, whether that's asking for the weather, having your home routines. Like for me, I have some smart stuff set up in the house, smart lights, have them in the bedroom. Okay, turn off the lights, turn them on. And it's actually really quite, like I'm coming into the kitchen carrying a whole bunch of groceries and it's okay, turn on the lights and I don't have to put them down, find the switch. And so now it just becomes sort of like part of the home and the home experience. Set the home air conditioning at a certain level. You can do it on your home before you get home. So it's like, I think more and more it's going to become more of just a part of who we are, and then just talking to people and talking for results. I think more and more we're going to find that. But then you sort of play that forward, and what does that mean for retailers? What does that mean for business? And you see also you mentioned, image search. You can, this is a Pixel 4, you can actually do an image search, use photo lens, and you can have results come back with ads in there of that product. And then all of a sudden you're straight on the retailer's site buying the product that you've seen, you've done your search off the image, click, 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 and you're there. And I think more and more it's this paradigm of making it easier for the customer. And if easier is on a picture saying I want this and it's in the house, it's the thing that will continue to grow. If it's not easier for the customer, then consumers won't do it and something else will evolve and emerge. But at the moment, we definitely are seeing positive trends in this way.
Yeah, I've always found voice search very, very awkward, and watching people talking to their Alexas. I think it's become one of my Zoom hobbies now, is trying to trigger other people's Alexas in the background of meetings. I think, for me personally, coming from an e-commerce lens, visual search to us has a much higher validity purely because of the value and consumer insights you can gather from a picture a customer uploads. The level of intent, the style, the colors, the textures, the understanding. And more, it's a request that's coming into us. Now, I'd love to understand, if I'm a retailer, what do I need to do for my images to allow Google to understand those images? Do these need to be clean cut? Do I need to metadata the crap out of these so that you know that's a red leather chair? Or is Google that smart that it's just deep analyzing both pictures in real time?
Yeah, no, great question. It's actually a relatively simple process where it's not like you have to have an engineering team to go and actually, write all these algorithms around it. Again, there's a process to go through, but relatively straightforward to enable that to come together. The other thing I actually wanted to mention, Todd, as well, is this sense of images and what retailers are doing with them. One of the things we are seeing, there's a growing trend around augmented reality, where just say you're a furniture retailer and you wanted to see how that bookcase behind me looked in your home before you got there. You can go to the app, you can drag it into your room, and then you can see how it looks, or a chair, or whatever the case may be. And so there's certain scenarios that's actually coming together reasonably well. We've also seen it where you can define your body image and shape and have clothes placed on that. And to see how, in that augmented reality world, how does that look like? And is that something that suits either my house or my body type? And would I like to buy it without having to physically go in store? So we're seeing a little bit more of that now as well, where people are using the tech rather than sort of virtual having to wear goggles, but the augmented where you can sort of see it through the lens of the camera and bring those things to life as well. So I think we'll see more and more of that now and into the future as well.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty. Next question, again on this bit of an e-commerce tilt for you, John. Tell me more about Google Wallet and the evolution of Google Wallet and payments. Again, everything at Google's growing, so you're going to tell me it's growing as well. But have we hit mass adoption of the wallet concept yet?
So the world is a very mixed and diverse place, and so all markets aren't the same. And there's actually different levels of uptake in different markets and different geographies around the world. What we are seeing, though, that as an overarching statement is that there is mass adoption of payment wallets, e-wallets for payments. Now, whether that's Google Pay, whether that's other types, more and more people are actually embracing that technology where they're not reaching over to their wallet, grabbing out their credit card to transact. They're actually using their payment engine that's actually on their phone. So we're seeing that's an exploding area. Certainly in Australia and other developed markets, we're seeing that advancing very quickly. Particularly here, you'll see that most people now just tap in their phones as they're going through. Now, as it relates to Google, the Google Pay area is not part of my responsibility, but certainly part of the growing piece. And we see tremendous excitement and upside. And it's obviously a two-sided piece where you want the retailers and the consumer embracing it. And look, I think most major retailers now, certainly Australia, are very much across the technologies, have it set up, and you can pretty much, for me now, I actually don't even carry my wallet with me anymore. I have my license on my phone, my Medicard card on my phone, and all my ID and my payments are all here. And I literally just use my phone when I go out and do not take my wallet anywhere, which is great. One less thing to lose, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm good at that as well, buddy. Yeah. So tell me, John, as Google is always evolving and these new product sets are coming through, where do you think we should be looking out for 2021, 2022? How should retailers be preparing for the future of the internet that you can't tell us about, but you can give us a few kind of nudges in the right direction of, is it quality of content? Is it quality of imagery? Is it information architecture? Where do we need to be?
So I'm a sales guy. They don't trust me with too much confidential internal information because I try and go. But I absolutely, in regards to where we should be looking and how do we best get ready for what's next, it's absolutely about efficiencies. It's about artificial intelligence, machine learning. How do we use those things to help us target better, getting the first party data? How do we really bring those elements together to make that happen? But I'd say to make that happen, the underpinning foundation for all of it is great experiences for customers. I had this meeting once with a retailer in Australia, and they were super excited about getting some really great YouTube creatives out and doing this and doing that and really be, winning awards at Cannes and all this stuff. But when we took some time to have a look at their website and what the customer experience was, it was really suboptimal. The load times were terrible, and this was bad, and there was so many steps to get to the checkout. So I actually called the meeting. I said, guys, look, this is beautiful. This is really aspirational. We need to do it. But what we have to fix first is the experience for a customer, what it's going to be when they land. How do we reduce the steps between that landing and transaction? And so that's the piece. And so if anything in getting ready is making sure that there's the minimum amount of friction points to transaction. One of the things we do look at as Google is that we have done lots of research around every additional point of friction, there's a drop off. And so the more you can remove, the better it is. You'll have a better customer experience and more transactions. So it's really important to do that. And so my strong advice firstly is make sure your load times are great. People won't suffer a slow website anymore. And so making sure that it's optimized for the phone. And a lot of our search traffic now comes over the phone, making sure that it's really optimized for that experience as well. So number one, getting that right would be the first thing. And number two, if you're a retailer and you have bricks and mortar and all the rest of it, how do you make sure that you're using online to drive offline? Don't think about these in isolation. Don't think about, oh, I have an online strategy, I have an offline strategy, and they're both really good, but they're really different. The reality is they shouldn't be different. They should be one strategy that engages your customer, one strategy, this omni-channel approach that brings it all together. When you do that, then the key is how do you measure? How do you measure impact? I spend $1 online. How's it helping someone get in store? When that person transaction store, what is that? When they spend online, have they been in store already? And really connecting these pieces up to make sure that you can really understand what the overall experience is for your customers and how you're helping them really drive impact as well.
Yeah, I love that, John. I think one of the areas where we have, and it's the lowest hanging fruit we see with nearly every retailer, is leveraging the map pack, right? And actually optimizing for localized search, right? If you're searching for plumbers, Auckland, carpet fitters, Melbourne, right? In fact, we turned around a large retail store by not selling online, but by fixing their map pack traffic, getting you to the top of those rankings, and then building out a really clever CRM in the background to track online intent to physical conversion, right? And incredibly, when you take that data and you feed it back to your CEO, he's very happy to spend some more, right? So give us just to wrap up then, those little top tips for your little map pack. How do people make sure that they get in there? Because I saw a very horrible anti-Google post the other day, John, where someone said Google's making it harder and harder to get your My Business listing sorted. But I have the little app on my phone and it's never been a drama for me. But how do people activate that area for their business?
Look, the combination of things, mate. One is people are searching, and you mentioned local. We're actually seeing that more and more people are wanting local experiences, local products, local services. So if you're a retailer, make sure you have got your Google My Business listing up to date. Make sure that it's connected into your Maps experience. Your office hours are there. You're putting posts on it. It's all free. There's no reason you shouldn't be doing it. So every single one of those needs to be updated, and you can make that happen, again, no cost to you, and that would be a really important step to do, number one. Number two is those elements around making sure the experience when they land on your site. We have some tools, Test My Site, or test the speed of your page loading, and these, again, free services to go and actually have a look at that. The other thing, look, with that is, if you're not already using Google Analytics, just to have a look at your traffic sources. Where are people coming from? Do you have recurring customers? What does your audience actually look like? Again, it's a free tool. Have it on your website. Again, just to understand those elements to help you get ready for what's next as well.
And how important are customer reviews in that process? I imagine that's a pretty key ranking algorithm.
Again, as a sales leader, they don't actually expose to us what all the elements are, where you actually get the ranking. But look, customer reviews are super important full stop. Now, there's a number of elements to the reviews. So there's reviews that can go onto your Google My Business page. And that will, when customers see them, they're going to say, oh, 5-star, great feedback, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You can also do inside of Google Shopping, you can have reviews set up. So when someone buys from you, it can be set up so an email will be sent to your customer to give a review on the experience with your site. Once you get over 100 reviews in a year's period, you can then actually have that badge come on your website, and it will actually have the reviews and your status on it. And so these things coming together, just what they do is they put a bridge from trust, from unknown to known, because they can see what other consumers have said about you and how they've rated you. So the review piece, whether it's on Google My Business, which is important, or you've actually set up with Google Shopping the reviews, and you can do product reviews as well, and so that can actually feed back into your shopping search ads. And so all of a sudden, you can de-risk some of it because people can see what others are actually saying. But the reviews are a great tool that's there, and again, just built in as part of the product offerings.
Yeah, we did an interesting case study actually internally at Overdose where for a couple of months we turned off a client's, so they'd have the normal purchase review process. Thank you for your order. 2 weeks later, how was everything? And instead of pushing them back to leave a review on site, we actually pushed them to leave reviews on Google My Business. Okay, sure. Because they were an omni-channel retailer, and the view there was actually this is really educational because it's telling the customer that there is a store within my square footage where I live, and it dramatically elevated the click-through on their My Business. And because there's so many businesses there with 0, 1s, and 2 reviews, as soon as you're in 20, 30s, 40s, and then getting to triple and quadruple digits, it dramatically elevated their click-through rates. And I imagine there must be something in the algorithm there, John, that push them up the rankings as well, because it worked tremendously well.
It's not hard. Look, the premise of how Google thinks about all of this is great customer experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting really great customer reviews and you're getting lots of them, it's not hard to extrapolate that would have some measure of saying it's a great customer experience. So that's right. If you're having lower bounce rates, if you're having great customer reviews, if people are staying on your site for a longer time, all these things indicate it's a great customer experience. And so as you think about, if you take great customer experience as a proxy for how to do better, then the Google world will want more businesses who are generating great customer experience. So you put customer first, and whatever you're doing is to make that better, then that will actually work well inside of the Google ecosystem.
Yeah, like I think you've nailed it right there, is that I think historically everyone thought you could kind of hack Google, right? And I can keyword stuff things, but it's all moved to these much softer intent-based signals rather than these very hard, firm signals. So, when people are clicking through to those sites, if they click off straight away, that's actually done you more harm than good, right? Because it's actually exhibited a negative signal rather than a positive. So it's getting the right traffic and still curating and nurturing that customer through that journey.
Exactly.
John, I have used up 38 minutes of your 30 that you said you'd give me. One last question for you. Very loaded, nepotistic question. I hear your daughter got a new job. How's she doing?
Look, she is doing incredibly well. She is probably of all my children, the most amazing. Hopefully the other 3 won't ever watch this podcast. No, she's incredible. She's incredibly fortunate, passionate, and excited to be now a member of the Overdose family.
No, she's going to crush it. There was no nepotism in there at all. So she's joining our crew out in New York, and she's going to be pushed hard for you, John.
Absolutely. Right. Look, she told me, she wants to be running New York in no time at all. I said to Emily, look, slow down. Just take a couple of weeks.
She's gunning for the MD role already, is she?
She said to me, Dad, what do I do to be running all of US? I said, come on.
Yeah, okay. There's a few grey hairs first, but we'll get there. Brilliant, John. Thank you for your time, buddy. We'll wrap up there.
Hey, thank you so much, Todd. And look, I just want to say one thing. I want to say one thing at the end, though, mate, before we go. Success of Google is working with partners like Overdose. Overdose has been absolutely phenomenal in doing the one thing I said, which is most important, looking after customers. And so when we work with an organization like Overdose, it changes everything. So I want to say thank you to Todd and the incredible team that he's put in together, really changing experiences for customers and how they grow, develop, and really nurture their businesses for success. So thank you for the partnership, Todd. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Very, very kind of you, John. All right, buddy. Safe travels on your kayak trip, and we'll talk soon.
See you, bud. Bye-bye.
See you, mate.